Hello guys, and welcome back to Flourish with Academy. In this tutorial, we're going to be introducing you to Python programming language. We're going to be learning how to install Python on our PC and also solve some drills. So we're going to be introducing you to different concepts, starting from the simple ones to the very complex ones. So I would like you to follow along with these tutorials as we move on, okay? But please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with your friend these lovely tutorials, okay? All right, now let's get into it. Now, the first thing we need to do is to download and install our Python. So straight away, you're going to go to python.org/downloads. Now, the link is going to be in the description below. When you click on that link, it's going to take you to this environment. And then what you want to do is to download the latest version, which is Python 3.11.1. Alright, so I've actually downloaded the Python version that I need. You can go ahead to download the Python version. So when you click on it, it is direct. It downloads it directly to your PC, and then you install from there. Okay, so if you're using Windows, you select the Windows. If you're using Linux, so mine is a Windows, so I'm just going to click on Windows, and I'm going to pick the one that is available, the most recent download package. I'm using a 64-bit, so I'm going to pick download Windows installer for 64-bit, and then you can see it's downloading for me right there. Alright, so like I said, I've downloaded it before, so I don't need to install, but for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to do that. Alright, so now while we're done downloading, the next thing for us to package our Python package, and it is just the normal way of installing. Just click on the executable file and follow the. So I'm going to click on open file, and so you can just go to the download here. So this is it right here. So when you click on the file, just follow the normal installation. Click on install now, and then it starts installing. But I'm not going to install that because I have actually installed my Python. But trust me, it is as easy as just follow click the right button, and then you're going to install Python. So this will make Python installed on your PC, and that is how you can use your Python ideally. Now, for the sake of this class, we are going to be using our Python ideally, so that in the next class, we're going to download and install, maybe using our Python ideally, so that in the next class we're going to download and install a proper IDE, which is what integrated development environment. Alright, so after installing, you come to your search box and then you type in IDLE, Python IDLE. Alright, so you click on Python IDLE, and then it's going to open this for you. Yeah. So this is our Python IDLE. As you can see, we have this lovely Python environment. And then you can actually create your projects with this. Okay. So we have the Python shell. This is the Python shell right here. So some of you, your Python shell might be darker, can be dark background, but mine is just white background. Okay. Alright, so you can write Python code on this. You say 1 + 1, and then it's going to give you 2. You can even say print I love coding, and then when you press enter, it's going to run it for you. So that is what a Python shell is. But for the sake of this tutorial, we're going to learn how to write our code on Python ideally proper, and then we're going to solve some drills and then explain some concepts to us. But before we move on, we need to subscribe. Please, I want to indulge you to subscribe to our channel, tell your friend about this channel. Trust me, it's going to be very helpful for you. For some of you that are, taking Python courses, this is going to help you a lot. And for those that want to use it for data analysis, this is also going to be a lot. If you want to use it for web development, software development, I just want you to follow through with our tutorials. and trust me, you are going to get a lot from this. Alright, let's get started. So to open a file on our IDLE, just click on File and then you click on New File. Like I said earlier, this is not the standard. I'm still going to show you how to download and install IDEs and then write proper code with that. But for now, I'm going to be using Python IDLE because this is like the most easy way to start writing code with Python. Alright. So the first concept that I will be teaching you is how to output with Python, and I'm going to go straight forward with it. But before I continue, I want to let you know that Python is an interpreted language. What that means is that you don't compile a Python code. Instead, you interpret it. So Python actually understands code on a line-by-line basis, unlike compared to like C#, C++, Java that compiles all the code once, and after compiling it, you can actually get an executable file or an executable result. But for Python, you keep interpreting. So if I run a code once and I run it again, it interprets the line again, and that's why we call it an interpreted language. So it understands it doesn't understand the code line by line. Alright, so also Python is also a scripting language. Yeah, so we use it to write web script and a lot more. Alright, now let's move on. So what you're going to do first is to save your work. Just click on save. I'm going to advise that you create a folder for your Python code just for orderliness. So I could just decide to save my work on desktop. Just create a new folder, and then you can call that Python drills, and then you just save. You can say output function or outputs, and this is a file extension. Can you see .py? And then you save that. Alright, so how do we output in Python? So this is like the first thing you need to learn on any programming language, how to output information. So how do we output? Now to output, we're going to use the keyword print. Just type print and then open and close the brackets. Alright, and then inside the brackets you put your 2 quotation marks. Alright, unlike every other programming language where you have to end every line of code with a semicolon. Now Python is so easy, you don't need to do that. It understands your code line by line, so you don't need to specify that you're finishing this line. Alright, so that's one thing, that's one advantage of learning Python programming language. So there's no need to end your code because it runs it line by line. Just put in something. For example, I want to say I love programming, and that's all. IDLE platform, and then to run it, just click on run, and then you say run module, and this is going to run it on our Python shell. See, look at the transformation now. Watch this. It goes to a Python shell and then runs our code. So it is as easy as that. So how do we output in Python? We use the keyword called what? Print. And then please don't forget the syntax. I'm going to go again. The syntax goes thus. I'm going to say print, open and close the brackets, and then in between the brackets you use the quotation marks. Now the quotation marks makes that, oh, I'm about to write a string of character. And so in between, whatever is in between the string of character is what I want to see on our output on our Python shell, and that's what we're doing right here. Okay, so I could just say what my Python shell, and that's what we're doing right here. Okay, so I could just say what my name is flourish. Now, this means that, okay, we're about to output whatsoever is inside the print, the quotation mark. So the way print function has been designed originally by the Python developer is that it is designed to take in string values. All right, we're still going to get there, but for now, I just want you to know how to output using Python. All right, now let's run our code and see what our output is. So click on run and then run it. As you can see, it says what? I love programming. My name is Flourish. All right, now let's check out. With these, I know we'll be able to answer some of these questions that we want to attend to. Write a Python program containing exactly one print statement that produces outputs, the following outputs. Now, the question is so very, it's a trap, because the question says containing one print statement. All right, so if it's not containing one print statement, so this is what you're supposed to write. You're just going to go to your coding area and then say what's print, and then we go and say what's A, and then we just copy and paste all of this like this. Copy, and then we just paste. Now, if you do this, you might not get the full, the complete scores, because this is not what the instruction says. The instruction says what? We should use one single print function to print out all of this. So how are we going to achieve that? So now if we run this, this is going to give us the outputs. Can you see? But that is not the question. Let's go back to the question again. It says, write a Python program containing exactly one print statement. Now, this is what we call string formatting. And I'm going to be introducing to you the first escape sequence. We call it escape sequence. So in programming, so we're going to go back to our Python code. And the solution to that is just going to say, sorry about that, print, and then you open and close brackets, and you put in what? Letter A. Now, here comes the escape sequence. The escape sequence for next line will be what? /n, and then that's where you're going to put B, another /n, the C, /n, the D, /n, the E, and /f. No, sorry, /n and then F. Now, when you run this code, you have to first save it and run it. Okay, so for some reason, I think I made a mistake with my code. I'm just going to go back to my code. /n, N, B /n, C /n. See, I did this. I'm sorry about that. So you have to be careful. /n and then D, /n, E. Yes, so this should work. Oh, sorry, E. You have to be careful. So when you say this again now and run it, that gives you A, B, C, D, E, F. But I did a /n twice. I'm sorry about that. You need to be careful. So that /n stands for new line. So it's called escape sequence. Okay. The escape sequence for new line is what /n, and this is actually going to solve the first problem. Okay, I hope you understand that. We'll move to the second question. So this is it. Now this is how to answer that question. All right, now let's move to the second question. All right, to solve the second question, we need to read the second question. So we'll go back to the second question. It says, write a Python program using 4 separate variables. So I think we're going to be using variable right here, and I'm going to be explaining what a variable is very quickly. So I'm going to go back to my coding area. So what is a variable? So I'm going to be using a comment. To write a comment in Python, it's just the hashtag, and then you can write anything. Okay, what is a variable? Now, comments are just for the user, so that the user can actually understand what's going on your code. But these are not executable code. It's just a comment. All right. So what is a variable? So the easy way of defining a variable, you can call it a memory location where you temporarily keep data for use. Just think about a variable like a temporary location, or think about a variable like a box where you keep stuff temporarily. Okay. So that is how that is what a variable is. So we're going to use this concept called variable to solve the next question. So let's go. So it says write a Python program using 4 separate variables to store the numbers 1 to 4. So let's start taking it one after the other. So to create a variable to store number 1 to 4, you're going to first give us the variable name. Remember I said variables are like boxes where we keep stuff. So the box should have a name, right? So let's say, for example, num1. That's the name of the box, equals to 1. So now this is the variable name, num1. And this is the value. And this is the value. So think about the box that has the name num1 and has a value inside the num1 called 1. So this is it. So that whenever you call the num1, you get the value 1. Okay, so that's the first one. So you create the second one by saying num2 equals to 2, num3 equals to 3, and num4 equals to 4. Now the good thing about giving a variable a name is that don't in any way, put a space in between a variable name. It is not accepted. Instead, you can separate it with a underscore. But I always advise that you write them together. That's like my own way of writing a variable, of naming a variable. Okay. So now that's the first thing. We've created the variable, and then we have assigned values to it according to the question. So we'll move on to the next one. It says use 4 separate variables to store the following information. So we want to store our name, our study major, the name of our college, and then the year of graduation. Now the same way we did that, we're going to write code for that. Now the data type for this is what? Integer, right? So these are integer value, but in this case we want to solve for example, name. That's the name of the variable, and now this one will contain a string data type. A string data type is always those data types that actually are enwrapped in a quotation mark, just like what I'm doing right now. So the name can be what? Janet. So the name can be what? Janet Jackson. So this is a name. So the data type is what? String. All right. So we want to say the next one is what? Major. Now the major would be what? Let's say computer science. College. That will be College of Engineering because we're dealing with texts. And then the next one is what? Year of graduation. So you can write that like this: year, separate with a postal of underscore. Separate those words with underscore. Okay, year of graduation would be that also would be a string. Now the reason why I'm using a string is because I'm seeing it as you can actually use a string for it, or an integer, but I'm not using it to calculate. I want to use it for an expression. So I'm going to be using a string, okay? It depends on you. You can use a string or integer. I'm going to be using a string for now, 2024. So we've done that, and then we'll move on to the question again. The question says, print the 4 lines of information on separate line with a number at the front of the line. So what that means is we want to use a print format. Alright, so we want to say number 1, then Janet Jackson, 2, computer science. I think that's what the information is saying right here. So we need to understand that it says print the 4 lines of information on a separate line with a line number at the front. That's it. That's exactly what we want to do. So we're going to use a concept called string concatenation. Alright, so we want to concatenate the value of an integer with a string. Now to do that, it is simple. What you're going to do is what we call typecasting. Alright, so this drill is containing, we're using print and we are using variable. In this case now we want to use string concatenation. Alright, so string concatenation. So but for us to concatenate a string, we need to first, typecast this integer value to be a string. Now how do we do that? It's simple. We're just going to say print, and then the first thing is what I want to typecast. Number 1, I'm going to say str open bracket, and then I'm going to say num1. So what I've done right here is saying, although the value inside is an integer, I want you to see it as a string because I will concatenate it with another string. So the string is called concatenation is using a plus sign that is adding up 2 string value together. So in this case now I'm going to be adding it up with name. So exactly, name is already a string, so there's no need for you to concatenate the name. Okay, but for number, because this is an integer, you have to typecast it to be a string so that they can actually work together. So this is a concept I'm going to use for the remaining ones. So just copy and paste it. But now you're going to change the value to 3 and 4. But now the first one is name, the second one will be what? Major. I'm sorry about that. Major. The third one would be college. And the fourth one would be what? Year. Would be what? Year of graduation. Alright, now let's run this code and see what our output will look like. Alright, so let's check it out. Click run. Yeah, we need to save it. Okay. And then, can you see? So we have 1 Janet Jackson, 2 computer science, but it's not well concatenated. The reason is because there's number 1, there's no space in between one and the other one, so we have to format that. So to do that, you're going to go back to your code, and in between you can actually concatenate again. This is not complex, so just put a plus sign and then put a string in between and then put space. That's all. That's in space and then another plus. So just see it as you're concatenating an empty space and then you're adding that. Yeah, exactly. So we do the same thing for this one also, and this will solve the problem. So when we save our work and then we run it, can you see it's more aligned right now? You can see we have 1 Janet Jackson, 2 computer science, 3 College of Education 4. In fact, another thing you can do is maybe you wanted to have one dot or one dot bracket. You can also do that. So what you're going to do is before the space, you're just going to put it like this, dot bracket. You see? You just have to be creative, okay? Dot brackets inside the empty string. Please don't forget, inside the empty string. So when you say this work now and you run it down, can you see how beautiful this is? So this is the solution for the second drill. All right, now let's move to the third drill. Okay, I'm really sorry for not breaking it down for you. The purpose of this class is to be able to solve those drills. If you feel you need in-depth knowledge about Python programming language, you can actually send your message in the comment section below. I'll be really glad to attend to you. Okay, thank you. Now let's move forward. Now the next one, the last part is the third question. So we're going to go to the third question, and this is the last part, and then we end the video. I'm sorry for making this video long, but this is how it's going to be looking at. Okay, all right, it says average the following three values and print the answer out as follow. The average. So now this is also like what we did earlier. It wants us to print out the average of 70, 80, 90 is equals to this. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this video in the next video because I don't want to take too much time. There's a concept I need to explain here. Okay, I'm going to solve this in the next video. Okay, so for now I'm going to stop right here. So we've answered two of the questions. In the next video I'm going to answer the third question, and then we'll move on like that. Okay, so I hope you understand all of these concepts. I hope this is not too long. We'll see you in the next video whereby we're going to solve the third question. Okay, all right, stay blessed, keep flourishing. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. I beg you, please subscribe to our channel. Tell your friends about this lovely channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye.